The Newsagents.
Welcome to the Christmas Day edition of The Newsagents, which is going to be a question and answer. Your questions are fumbling around for answers.
Well, our first question to them is, why are you listening? Haven't you got better things to be doing on Christmas Day?
Well,
You shadows.
Who are you trying to escape?
Yeah.
Come
Who
on,
are you
name
avoiding?
and shame.
Because Lewis will be standing to attention, listening to the King's speech.
Absolutely. God bless His Majesty.
Right, shut up. Now, first question from Sally Smith. If one of the newsagents was to have the rest of you round for Christmas Day lunch, who do you think would make the best host?
Well, you know who it wouldn't be, don't you?
What?
The old wine gum maestro chef over here.
Yes.
Why?
Because all we'd get a selection of Haribo,
Yes.
wine gums, and maybe if we're lucky,
You
like a
could
couple
call
of
them
glasses of tap
canapes,
water.
but essentially they'd be beautifully arranged pick and mix on little platters.
Yeah, that's BS, because actually I've been round to your place and you're a bloody good cook.
I am.
So-
But I think you would be the best host.
Why?
Because I think you do sort of hosting better.
All I do
You
is
don't want
pull
people
corks.
round at your house.
I really
The last
don't.
thing you want is people
Jesus,
round at your
no,
house.
Sounds dreadful.
Jesus, no, quite the message for Christmas.
Yeah, I was going to say, nothing like a spirit of festive cheer going out from Shay Maitlis.
Welcome to the Christmas Newsagents.
The Newsagents.
It's John.
Is Emily.
It's Lewis. Ho, ho, ho.
Oh, that was so festive and
I know,
warm.
I just feel so festive.
It dripped scepticism. It dripped curmudgeonly
I
Lewis
like
Goodall.
Christmas in a way. I like January even better because it's the longest possible period before more Christmas. And you know what? Everybody listening to this right now who is knee-deep
Guy
in
de
Christmas stuff.
Guy de Maupassant said, "What do you think of the Eiffel Tower?" He said, "I think it's fabulous. I love eating at the Eiffel Tower because it's the only place in Paris I can't see the Eiffel Tower."
There you go. Exactly.
That's you. That's you about Christmas.
I didn't think Guy de Maupassant was going to get a first mention
Who
earlier on.
knew?
We should probably go to one of these questions first. We have got one from Phantom Jimmy. It seems like the Tory government will never be free from infighting, but what is their end game? Is it to suffer a lesser defeat or to usher in chaos for a future Labour government? Phantom. That's a tricky one to start with.
Yeah, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I mean, I think you can want both. You can want chaos for a future incoming Labour government and to lessen your defeat. But I also think that there is nothing in what Rishi Sunak is doing that tells us he's trying to mitigate the numbers. I would be very surprised if Rishi Sunak went to the polls before October the 24th, because that is a landmark date, which would mean he'd been in office for 2 years. And I just think men's sensibilities, can I say that?
Yeah,
the
go
male
on, say
ego, I think would mean that he would not want to be Prime Minister for less than 2 years. And if he thinks he's going to lose, he will not want to risk it.
Yeah, I think that the other thing about politics is just, I think that people who are on the outside don't understand is the total uncertainty of voting. And you never quite know. And that you always think that, I mean, I remember in the run-up to the May election in 97, and the Blair people on polling day were saying, "Have you heard anything about the exit poll? Have you heard anything? Because I don't think we're there." Labour win by an absolute bloody country mile. And just as Rishi Sunak will be fearful, there will also be a sense of hope that it might not be that bad.
The Schrodinger's ballot box.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Until you've opened it, anything is possible. Right?
Exactly. And conversely, even if Keir Starmer is 20 points ahead in the polls the day before polling day, he won't believe it's a done deal until he sees those
He'll
polling.
be prowling round, scared
Yeah.
as a cat on a hot tin roof.
But also, I mean, it suggests, the question is, what is their end game? I mean, like, who are you talking about? I mean, one thing that we've seen over the course of the last month or so, right, has been the unravelling of Conservative discipline, of factions being on full display. They've all got different end games. Sunak in number 10, still thinking about, can we possibly win this thing and do it? Other individuals thinking, will I even have a seat? Do I even want to stand? And then other factions thinking, and one of the big themes of this year, certainly the last 6 months, has been this sense that the Tory party is thinking about, or big sections of the Tory party is thinking about what comes after the election, the rebuilding project, and what that looks like, and how to position yourself, Robert Jenrick, hello, if you're listening, in the best place possible, in the best way possible, to take advantage of that situation.
I mean, you say Robert Jenrick if you're listening, but your list could be about 12 strong, right?
Sorry, Bob.
So, if you're listening, Boris Johnson, if you're listening, I mean, it is entirely conceivable inconceivable that Boris Johnson is now looking for a safe seat. I mean, we can come back to the whole issue of safe seats later, but this idea that you would get a friend or a colleague or somebody who wishes that you'd never left office to step aside to give you a seat so that he could then lead the Conservative Party. I guess the question is, for all those people, the election can't come soon enough, right? If you're not really in office or if you're not really in power, you might as well be starting to rebuild it from the ground up.
Let me just go to Phantom Jimmy's second part of the question, which is, or is it to usher in chaos for a future Labour government? I don't think it's that they want to usher in chaos.
They don't need to.
But I think the exactly, because the spending targets that have been set by Jeremy Hunt in the autumn statement are so eye-wateringly tight that they are going to cause chaos, because you're going to have these new shiny secretaries of state who are going to be sitting in the back of their limos for the first time ever, and all they can see is, how am I going to make the cuts in my department that are necessary to meet the spending targets that have been set by the previous administration and which our shadow chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has accepted. And so I kind of think it's going to be really tough. So the chaos is already built into the system.
It's embedded, isn't it?
Yeah, embedded.
I mean, other people other than Phantom Jimmy have written in.
Phantom Jimmy, we could
Jimmy's
spend
had
an hour with you.
A very full,
I like
comprehensive
Phantom
hammer.
Jimmy.
Well,
He doesn't even exist.
He doesn't exist.
He
He's a
literally
phantom.
doesn't exist.
Come on, why don't you choose another one?
Okay, next one then. Is it possible the US election may not involve either Trump or Biden? That's from Lorry Driver. Oh, Lorry Driver. Maybe that isn't a joke. Sorry if we're laughing and it is your name. Anyway, we can't laugh at all our listeners.
Look, just as a matter of how long one has on one's mortal coil before one shuffles off it, of course it's possible that it's not going to be an election between 81-year-old Biden. What are you laughing at, Maitlis? You've got hysterics.
You've not been on the mulled wine,
I
have
am
you?
talking about the possibility of one of the two main contenders dying, and you're sitting there laughing.
It's all going very well, this. It's all going extremely
Carry
well.
on.
Merry
You're
Christmas.
shuffling off. Go on, shuffle off.
So one of them could easily shuffle off their mortal coil. So as a statement of fact, yeah, of course it's possible that it's not.
Emily's about to shuffle off reality. Literally, I mean, they can't see this, but I'll tell you what, you're in hysterical form today, clearly, at least.
Honestly, I don't. Have I cracked any jokes yet?
Not that I noticed.
So you're right. You're saying, okay, so John DePracy is saying one of them may be dead. Just to clarify, you're saying one might be dead.
It's possible.
I mean, it's very possible. It happened to Phantom Jimmy.
I mean, he is 81 years old and looking every bit of his 81 years. I don't wish him any ill. Donald Trump has had a diet of Big Mac and fries for his whole life. It's possible that one of them may not make it.
It's possible this could be our last episode.
I was going to go a different tack, and I was going to say that people are still talking about Gavin Newsom, who is the California governor, who is actually very good at politics, who is Mr. Waiting in the Wings man, if anything should happen to Biden. The trouble with anything happening to Biden is that the successor plan is already in place. It's literally what it says on the VP ticket. You are a heartbeat away. And I think the bigger problem with Biden right now is that people don't really like the successor either. I mean, they don't like the idea of Kamala. And I think she represents more of a threat to people who might not vote Democrat than actually Biden himself. On the other side, could it not be Trump? Yes, I do think it could not be Trump. I do.
Well, you think it could be Haley?
I think it is not inconceivable that Trump could implode legally in some complicated way in the next 6 months.
I think it's possible that you could get to the Democratic convention, and if Biden is really sick or whatever, there could be some jiggery-pokery that goes on whereby it is not Kamala and it reopens. But to get your name on the ballot for the races that start the presidential primary campaign, Iowa, New Hampshire, Super Tuesday, all the rest of it.
You have to have signed it off by November.
It's all done. It's too late to put your name down for that. So any conventional route for anyone other than
Agreed.
Biden is gone. So I think that conventionally, given that they've both still got a pulse, it's Biden versus...
Don't go down that route again. We'll lose her again. Don't start talking about shuffling,
Let's
for
keep
God's
them alive
sake.
for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But given they've both got a pulse, I think that the chances are it will be Biden versus Trump. But I still think there's an awful lot that could happen between now And next November...
It's a long way away.
It's a
I
long
just
way
think
away.
10, 11 months is a long way away, right? In political terms.
And it's actually potentially a big proportion of their remaining lifetimes, as you say, John.
Can I just put in a little plug for News Agents USA, where we will be following this very closely in the coming months of 2024 leading up to...
I think everyone listening, I think we've got them. I think these are the people we've got on board.
Because it's Christmas Day.
I would say come and join us on
and join
News
us.
Agents USA if you haven't already.
Okay.
Given that Lord Cameron has been appointed Foreign Secretary without being elected, is there a possibility that another Lord, Boris, could by the same method be appointed Prime Minister? That's from George Slater.
Last Lord, Prime Minister, who was in the Lords?
Douglas Hume.
No, because he took his seat in the Commons.
Yeah.
So he never sat in the Lords as Prime Minister.
Did he not sit in the Lord as Prime Minister? Liverpool.
Nope. After that,
Halifax. No, he was Foreign Secretary.
no. Well, that was why he didn't become... Well, one of the reasons he didn't become Prime Minister, right? Because he was in the Lords.
Yep.
No? You give up? It's
Oh,
you love
go-
a Christmas quiz, Emily.
Go on,
Come
then,
on.
I do.
He left office in 1900. This is a good game, isn't it?
Oh,
And you think your Christmas games are bad at home. Jesus.
Come on then.
It's a Marquis of Salisbury.
Oh, I said Liverpool. It wasn't far off.
What, Salisbury and Liverpool?
Geographically.
Both temporally and geographically. You're totally wrong.
Right. So do you see what's happened?
Okay, next question.
No, you've
Let's
completely
start with
dodged
that.
the question, which is, could Boris Johnson
No.
become a Lord and then become Foreign Secretary?
We haven't
become
said-
Prime Minister.
Actually, the person who's asked this question is George Slater, which seems to me an entirely normal name.
Phantom Jimmy got a far more comprehensive treatment than George
I'm going to let you
Slater's
into some
game.
gossip.
Go on.
I have been led to understand that Boris Johnson, when he was Prime Minister, approached David Cameron to ask him if he would become his Foreign Secretary
Really?
and
That's
was
good
rejected.
gossip.
Yeah. Now, this doesn't mean that necessarily Boris
How
Johnson...
would it have been possible? How would it have been possible for Cameron, given what happened in the 2016 referendum, to go back? Surely that was an invitation. I mean, assume the gossip is right. Surely that was an invitation you simply couldn't accept. To be Boris
couldn't.
Johnson's
Well,
Foreign
he didn't.
Secretary.
I mean,
he didn't accept it.
He didn't accept
But
it. So the question is, would Boris Johnson like to be somebody else's Foreign
But
Secretary?
that's not
I think he
George's
would have loved
question.
to.
George's
Oh, yeah.
question is whether he wants to be Prime Minister.
Okay, so you cannot be Prime Minister from the Lords. Not anymore.
I don't think... I
you
think
can't.
No, it's never going to happen. And a Prime Minister would have to appoint him there. So we'd need a Prime Minister to appoint him to the Lords in order to then
I
become
don't think
Prime
Rishi
Minister.
Sunak is going to ennoble
No.
Boris Johnson.
No way.
No.
For Emily's extension of the question, he's been Foreign Secretary once.
Went really well.
It went really well.
What is perfectly possible is that some Boris acolyte / sycophant...
They're already there. They're already in the Lords already.
Yes, no, but steps aside at some point.
Oh,
If they,
in
if
the
they think
Commons,
the Conservative leadership is up for grabs and Boris wants to have a second crack at it, that somebody stands aside in a safe Tory seat.
I have no doubt that that will happen,
Yeah.
and I would expect that to happen at this election.
The downside risk of that, though, of course, is there have been various times when people have talked about David Miliband coming back into Parliament to fight a by-election, and I know that what's been present in his mind is the thought that it just becomes a rallying point for opposition to think that someone is about to be parachuted into a seat.
I think that's how Labour think, and I think it's how David Miliband thinks, who famously got close to it and then pulled his punches. I don't think Boris Johnson would have any compulsion about doing
But
that.
the question is whether he would want to be leader of the opposition. I mean, presumably it's not going to happen this side of the election, so then you'll be leader of the
Any
opposition.
qualms? I don't think Boris Johnson would have any qualms whatsoever about doing that.
Well, then the question is, and also is whether he would want to be leader of the opposition, because presumably this would be in some future scenario.
I think he
when,
would.
And maybe, I think
he
you can
would.
argue both ways, right? On the one hand, having been Prime Minister, then being leader of the opposition, it's absolutely dreadful, and he'd probably hate it in lots of ways. On the other hand, he's someone who's very good at getting into the papers. He's very good at being
he's
talked
done everything
about.
else. He's done Mayor of London, where he was arguably at his politically happiest. He's done Prime Minister, and that
but
ended in tears.
I thought there was
and he's not finished.
There was a plaintive column by William Hague, former Conservative Party leader, in the papers the other day about just how grim life is as leader of the opposition.
And he'd have to give up all the money. He'd have to stop making all the cash, which he loves to make. And he'd have to declare all his income.
And we know that that is a big issue for him, hefty tax bills and all the rest of it, that he needs to earn that money.
Well, maybe you leave it 5 years and come back next time.
But he'll be so gone by then, right? I mean, he'll be such a figure of the past. I mean, if the Tory party is still talking about Boris Johnson in 5 years' time, in a way that they still talk about Margaret Thatcher, in a way they've got a problem, because it just shows that they've completely failed to renew or find any kind of new purpose. I think the bigger thing as well, it's obviously doing the rounds, people are talking about at the moment, is Farage's role. in the future
Wait,
Tory
wait,
party.
wait.
What?
Wait,
Oh, no.
Wait.
Well, let's
Don't
be
preempt.
continued.
Don't preempt.
Brian Quinn, what will 2024 bring for Nigel Farage? Lewis, what will 2024 bring for Nigel Farage?
He will continue to orbit around the Conservative Party like a really annoying fly around something.
Snake, perhaps.
Well, maybe, yeah, snake's orbit. But yeah, he will
That
be...
was the metaphor.
Metaphor have I
from the
got,
celebrity.
from the
Oh,
celebrity.
yeah, but everyone's going to have forgotten by that by the time this goes out, Emily. That's all old news. I'm a celebrity. Honestly, it was weeks ago. But yeah, I don't think he will get into anything in terms of Conservative politics before the election. Mainly because, you know what I think about Nigel Farage? More than anything else, he actually loves what he's doing now. He loves being talked about. He loves broadcasting. He loves having a place on GB News. And he loves to wound the Conservative Party. To actually get back into politics, he knows more than anyone else, particularly to lead a party like Reform, is grinding. You have to do like every media interview. You have to turn up all the time, all these ungodly hours. It would be a big shift for him. But will he continue to prompt the idea or to provoke the idea and to continue to
I think it's
put it
sort
out
of
there?
chairman,
Of course
not
he will.
CEO, isn't it? He can be the Reform Party chairman
is what
at the
he kind of
moment.
is, yeah.
He can do the deals if there are deals to be done. He can watch Reform go up in the polls, and when it goes up, he says, "This is my doing." When it goes down, he goes, "They're lost without me." And I think that's always been where Nigel Farage has sort of positioned himself as somebody you could never quite work out whether he was hugely influential or whether everyone massively overestimated his influence.
The Farage position now is power without responsibility.
Yeah.
Which is...
Sounds
he's
great.
Got, which
That's
is
what
the
he's
last
always had.
prerogative of the harlot, I think was the phrase.
And now we're getting Stanley Baldwin in here as well.
Yeah, we're getting Stanley Baldwin.
Oh, there we
rich.
go. It is a rich Christmas Day feast. On
Exactly.
these
We are going back into the
Unless you feel
history
sick
books.
already. Yeah.
Because at the moment, he has got that. He has got that without any of the kind of requirements to fit in, to take a line, to sift.
Without the rules.
Without the rules. And that's exactly how Nigel Farage likes it.
But the very fact that we're even talking about, and have now for some months, talked about Nigel Farage's readmission into the Conservative Party, and that being something that's kind of like credible and actually something that big parts of the Conservative Party are arguing for and want, tells you a lot about how far the Tory
I
party
blame
has
Brian.
moved.
That's the only reason we're talking about Nigel Farage. Brian Quinn.
Brian, you're on Emily's shit list.
You're not. I love you, Brian. But that's the reason we're talking about Farage.
Should we take a break to pull a Christmas cracker?
Oh, not again.
There was a
Not now.
dad joke. There was a dad
Not-
joke there
Not
to be
again,
had.
please, John. You know what happened last time.
See you in a sec.
This is The Newsagents.
And we're going to pick up now with Ashley Allen's question. He raises a very, very interesting point. When is John releasing his latest spin-off show, The Travel Agents?
That is so cruel, unkind, mean.
Actually, he's writing this down now. He's just trying to work out
So-
how to get the merch going.
Shut up.
What? No, I was just wondering, John.
No. I just want you to stop.
I was just wondering. when the first holiday of the year is booked in for, just out of
Just out of
pure curiosity.
So we're all back. Let's clarify. We're all back on the. We're all back on the 3rd.
Yeah, 3rd of January.
Yeah.
Just, and
Just
obviously
remind us.
start a new world.
No, go on. You might have to flip
Yeah, no, 'cause
forward a
actually
bit.
we should
Just
know
tell
this,
us when
'cause we
is
have
it?
to be around.
When's the
Just do-
first one? Go on.
I'm on the 17:15 flight to Geneva on the 4th of January.
4th of January. Okay, so that's a full 24 hours.
So you are doing the full day.
Yeah, to be fair, that's a whole day.
No, I'm
Right.
doing Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, okay.
So I'm doing...
so you bloody well deserve it then, to be fair.
I'll have done 2
you'll be
days.
exhausted.
Yeah,
you'll be
you'll be knackered.
knackered.
It's
Yeah.
important. You've got to go. You know
Could
what? You
somebody
need some
book
of
John a
that.
car to the airport?
You need that alpine air.
Yeah.
You really do. I wouldn't want to see you sort of
Did you
knocking
see what
yourself
John
out, my
did there?
friend.
It's very, very cunning. But you don't say the name of the ski resort. You say the capital city of the country.
Yes.
So it sounds like a business trip.
Chatel.
But we know that nobody goes to Geneva.
Chatel, okay.
He just loves
I'm
the
going to
Rousseau
Chatel.
statue.
I will go up and down a mountain, and up and down a mountain, and
No, it's
up and
good.
down.
It's important that you
Yeah,
relax.
really good.
No,
You
it
might
is
come back
important.
exhausted.
But I'm
though,
not
need a
taking
holiday.
any days off to do it. I'm not taking leave. I'm going for 3 days.
And then
I'm going for a weekend.
And then
And he is going to launch.
and then after that, just so listeners can know, just so they can just put it in their diaries.
Okay, so no, this isn't a holiday to go and see your son in Australia.
But
That doesn't count as a
No,
holiday.
it's not a holiday.
That's
So you're going to
family
Australia?
Going to
at the end of
Australia.
January.
Good.
yeah, but of course, if you weren't for how long?
2 and a bit weeks.
2 and a bit weeks.
Let's
But of
call it
course,
3.
if he didn't live in Australia, what do you think you'd be doing around then, John?
If he didn't live in Australia and he was a good son who hadn't married an Australian,
That is annoying.
Which is bloody annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, love her to bits, but she's Australian.
Yeah, that's
then
annoying.
she would be in England. He'd be in London. I wouldn't need
And
to
you'd
take
go on
leave.
holiday together.
I would be with you every day.
We'll leave it up to the listeners to decide whether they find that a completely credible prospect.
I think it was absolutely compelling.
It was compelling. What I want to know, says Becky, is what is on Christmas Day menu for John, Emily and Lewis? What meat is being served? A traditional turkey? Will you eat at lunchtime and in time for the King's speech, or at dinner time? Merry Christmas all. That is very festive.
Oh, that's nice. Mate, let's go. What are you having?
Well, I am
Some
doing
sherbet lemon?
a Christmas Day swim. So
That classic festive Christmas Day swim.
yeah.
You're nuts.
Yeah.
Do you wear a wetsuit?
I'd probably wear like half wetsuit. Depends what it's like.
What do you mean a half wetsuit?
Go and catch
Well,
a
not
swan
a full
to
one,
roast
but a
for
sort
the
of
evening?
like,
Oh, right,
sort of
okay.
shorts and a little thing. I'll go and do a Christmas swim with my cousins. So we'll eat in the evening. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to stay with friends out of London. We are going to go for a long walk, I would think, in the morning.
No swimming?
No bloody swimming. She's mad, though.
Oh,
we
yeah.
know that. We know that. I'm not going swimming. Must be joking.
Yeah. She's
not laughing now. She's giving you
It
the
doesn't
death
actually
stare.
sound awful now you repeat it back to me.
Yeah.
Awful.
Muddy
Dreadful,
walk.
dreadful.
Where are you? Are you in
I'll be in
Norway?
Oslo.
Oh,
with my wife's
fantastic.
family. And
Oh,
then
another
we'll,
holiday, Lewis.
but as you say, John, when you're visiting family, it isn't a holiday, of course. Of course, that is the old John, the
It's also
Sopel
when
criteria.
we're- off air.
Yeah, and also when we're off air. So we're kind of like, yeah, you're right, it is a holiday. But of course, because they're mad, the Scandinavians, they all celebrate on the wrong day.
Hang on.
They
so
all do it on Christmas
you're,
Eve.
You're saying that your in-laws are mad.
Mad as a box of frogs, John. They all honestly, they're pagans. They get the Christmas tree out, and then they all dance around it.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, yeah, you would
Oh,
love
I
it.
love that.
Lewis,
Why don't they
Lewis,
take
I
you
live-
for a
I'm
bit of
hoping.
birch
I've only been
whipping
there,
and-
done it 3 years, and this will be This will be the
don't do it
third
naked.
year. This will be the third year. Well, I'm hoping at some point that the naked thing doesn't happen. I'm sure it probably does at some point. Maybe year 10 or something like that.
I have to say, Lewis, I was at your wedding. It seemed that the Scandinavians who were there were the sanest people at your wedding.
Oh yeah, but it's Christmas, they lose it, don't they?
Oh,
just
do they lose
it.
their shit
And
altogether?
they will be eating ribba, which is
Sorry?
Goose.
Ribba. No, not goose.
Antelope.
Ribba. Antelope. Yeah, that's right. We're all going to go down onto the savannah and shoot some antelope.
Whatever.
On the
Moose.
Norwegian fjords. Just absolutely full of wildebeest and antelope.
Norwegian wildebeest crossing the Mara River.
Yeah, well, quite so. No, ribba, pork ribs. That's
Oh,
what
lovely.
they eat. Pork
Very
ribs.
nice.
Pork ribs,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah.
Right, come on, back to politics, you lot.
Okay.
When Jeremy Corbyn was removed from the Labour Party, for understand, sorry, that was quite a hard.
So we're going from pork ribs to Jeremy Corbyn.
Here we
famous
are,
vegetarian,
anyway.
of course.
A famous vegetarian was removed from the Labour Party for understandable reasons. This is Paul Skelton's question. Many of his policies did inspire a lot of young people to engage in politics and join the Labour Party. Starmer's Labour making a big mistake by turning their back on these Corbyn's policies.
No. I think that you can attract a certain section of the electorate with ideological purity, but I don't think you're going to win a general election like that, because I don't think there is the support. I think that the centre of gravity of politics in this country is more to the centre, a bit to the right, than it is to the hard left. And I think that everyone says, oh, Boris Johnson, he won big time in 2019. Actually, I think it's just as valid to say Jeremy Corbyn lost big time in 2019, that the British people just didn't want what he was offering. And I think that, frankly, that you might lose some young people at this stage of the game. But I think in terms of electability and the possibility of Labour winning the next
I would
election,
counter that.
you are much better off without Jeremy
I think
Corbyn.
2017, when they pre-leaked the manifesto, showed how much interest there was for some of those policies, whether it was like, the free broadband, much bigger offering to the young on housing, rail nationalisation that Labour is talking about now. I think the difference is, I think Starmer personally would love to be offering the kind of things that Corbyn put in his 2017 manifesto. The truth is, he cannot. He cannot before an election. He might very well move towards some of that stuff afterwards.
You're agreeing with me. The electability...
Electorally, he can't.
No.
But I think he would still want to be offering some of the retail offerings to the young. Yeah.
I mean, the brute political calculation they've made, right, and they've actually made from the very beginning, has been that those voters are
With them
completely
anyway.
bankable.
Yeah.
And
The young
they
are
gonna
with
go?
them.
where they're going to go. And that
Yeah.
has basically been... I mean, the Starmer calculation initially there were some who were saying, making a very different argument, which was to say that you had to balance the kind of Corbyn years against reaching out to sort of lost red wall voters, for want of a better expression, etc. But actually, the sort of strategic decision basically from day one for Starmer and his team was basically to put the whole lot and all the emphasis on those lost seats, and indeed now expanding
Call it the national
into,
anthem strategy.
Yeah, totally.
Can we all sing the national anthem?
Exactly.
Right?
And indeed, so far, maybe it's slightly contingent on the Conservatives' explosion, but so far that initial gamble, that initial bet, so far, according to all of the polls, has worked.
Look, if you're a general, you have to be a lucky general, in all these things. And Keir Starmer has been a lucky general in the sense that the Conservative Party has imploded and that the transition from Truss to Sunak, which many thought would lead to kind of much saner, calmer, stiller waters, hasn't happened.
Going back to your first statement, which was that elections are surprises. I mean, famously, they are races and you don't know who's going to win a race. And I would say that there is every chance that we've spent hours and weeks and months analysing the whims and the vagaries of the Tory party, do this, do that, there is a chance that Keir Starmer could actually be dead and still on the ballot and not do anything for the next 6 months and still win a majority because of the state of the Conservative Party.
Hang on, you lost it when he talked about Biden shuffling off the mortal coil. Now Starmer could be dead.
It might be that Labour has nothing. They just don't have to do anything.
Yes,
But I think
but
Labour cannot rely on that. Labour cannot just think, we won't say a word, we'll just be quiet and we'll just ride up on the shoulders of the Conservative Party and just get there because they're crap. I think that would be a fool's errand for the Tories.
Learmas, how long is it before we see reform of the House of Lords and the monarchy? How are you two feeling about the monarchy this afternoon?
Why do you ask?
I don't know, just asking. Are you feeling very pro or anti the monarchy?
We're big fans of the monarchy, and I don't think that Keir Starmer will ever touch the monarchy under King Charles.
No, not a chance.
Not
I don't
remotely.
think the monarchy, I don't think the civil list, I don't think any of those things will get touched.
Not least because actually at the moment, King Charles is like, I'm going to say this, a beacon of sanity and leadership for this country right now. I think if you look at who has been vocal on COP, who's been vocal on climate change, who has tried to repair diplomacy with the Greeks, who has actually quietly but insistently gone out of his way to steady the ship, it has come from the monarch, not from the PM.
Well, I worry what you say there, because what you're suggesting is that because he's doing things that you like, you approve. And I think that surely the position of a constitutional monarch is that you shouldn't be able to discern that he or she is taking any position, which was the great strength of the Queen.
Rubbish. I think
What do
we
you mean
all
rubbish?
I mean that we all talk about constitutional monarchies as if they don't actually play any part in the political landscape. We know that the Queen played a political role right the way through, whether it was the Commonwealth, whether it was the response to post-colonial disenfranchisement, whether it was when she visited, what was the famous one, Amritsar in India after the massacre. These movements are all political. And I think Charles repairing relations with European neighbours is fundamentally political and fundamentally what the monarchy still has to do. It's about diplomacy.
It's not going to be reformed because Britain is a sort of ridiculous country which is conservative in almost every way, and for some reason we find it entertaining or interesting to see these sort of slightly weird-looking, let's put it that way, weird-looking people parade around in their hats and silly sceptres.
Do you watch The Crown?
Also, we haven't got...
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Any money.
Hang on. You great big steaming hypocrite.
No,
you.
I watch it for the politics.
Oh,
that's why the
bullshit.
recent steerage has been awful, because there's no Blair, there's nothing. Honestly.
As for House of Lords reform, I don't think that's going to happen either. Because
Well, I
I think
think that what Blair used to say, it's a third term priority.
Yeah, exactly.
And it takes money, right?
Or it
these
takes
things.
time and
Well,
just eats up
all
so
of it.
much time.
It's not like Keir Starmer or whoever is Prime Minister, let's say Rishi Sunak, will be looking around going, I just can't think what to do for the next 5 years. What shall I do?
But the thing is, you could actually do something with the Lords. And this is where you sort of hope it might get to. Forget the second elected thing. Forget anything like deeply radical like that, whatever. Just take it out of the hands in terms of appointment from the party leaders. Just do that. If you do nothing else, just do that. Because at least if you have that and you have a proper appointments commission and you have a new process for appointment, at the very least, you could take out the stench of corruption which hangs over every administration when just coincidentally, remarkably, major party donors or former Prime Minister's staff end up in the legislature for life. You could keep the best of the House of Lords and just do that.
I think they will get rid of the resignation honours list, won't they? That has to go.
Well, I don't see that they will, because I think that that's a
Once-
great piece of
once you're in it, you've got it,
conferring
right?
of power that the Prime Minister has. It's not like...
Would Keir Starmer say no to Rishi Sunak's resignation on his
No.
list?
I
That's the
doubt he
question.
would.
I doubt he would.
And Labour, well then, and now the incentive if Starmer gets there will be to pack the Lords himself, as the Conservatives did after 2010, because at the moment there isn't a
Imbalance.
Conservative majority, but there's a significant imbalance between Labour and Tory peers, and suddenly there's 13 years worth of Labour peers that you can start to
You
appoint, and
can't
the whole
stop
process
anyone going
starts again.
crossbench, can you?
Or-
You
no.
can appoint
No.
a Lord and they can go crossbench.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing about it is that, unlike the US system, which is absolutely openly transactional, if you raise this amount of money for my presidential election campaign, I will put you on the board of the Kennedy Arts Centre. I will put you as the ambassador to France or to London. We can't do things in quite the transactional way that the US system can. So the honour system is the perfect way to give out baubles to your friend. It's
Well,
utterly
to
corrupt,
earn money,
utterly
actually, for
indecent.
your party.
Yeah, exactly. It's shocking, but that's what happens, and that's why it won't get reformed. We're going to come back with one final question.
This is The Newsagents.
So our final question comes from Scott. I am not optimistic you'll be going on a tour in 2023, given it's nearly over. I think it is probably a little bit late for a
they-
tour, given it's the 25th of December.
Did they not tell you about the Boxing Day date, John?
Oh, God, what?
We're
Don't
doing,
go
we're
on
doing,
holiday.
we're doing,
You've
Wick-
called me out.
We're doing Wick Leisure Centre.
Wow.
Yeah. We need to.
I haven't heard about it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Anyway,
you're away that
Emily
way.
hinted that live shows may be coming on the pod a few weeks ago. Can you tell us when this will be? Another 100%er here.
Sado.
Love the show. Did you just call Scott a sado?
Yeah, they like it. They
No,
love
they
it.
don't.
They're masochists, our fans.
we should be reverential to Scott.
I am, but he's
You're
not a
not.
sado.
You're nowhere near reverential. Scott, thank you so much for that question.
you, Scott.
Your wisdom is appreciated.
You're a man of taste and discernment, but you're a bit sad.
There might not be an imminent live show this year, but can we suggest that you buy a hoodie?
I think that's not answering the question, Maitlis. I think that's diversionary tactics.
We can sell a hoodie.
I just meant for 100%er. Don't we have lovely hoodies saying I'm 100%er?
We've got a badge, I think. For
A
the
badge. You
100%ers.
can buy a badge
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
100%er. Maybe we should send you one, Scott.
Anyway, hoodies, all that sort of merch is available. I hope
Live
we
shows.
do go
Yeah,
on.
I'm sure we will. Maybe not before the end of 23, but sometime in 24.
Have a lovely Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
Bye.
The Newsagents. This is a Global Player original podcast.